Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Oh my God, I am so excited. Have you ever had that feeling when you go onto a concert or book signing and you're just like, oh my God, I'm meeting my idol for the first time? This is how I'm feeling right now. So welcome to RangeWomen, the variety show. I am your host, Lala Angela Wang. Yes, I'm super excited today. For those of you who's never watched the show before, RangeWomen for me is a show that I really want to highlight and also feature the amazing women in my life that are doing all the things. And the most importantly, they're doing them with ease, flow, at least most of the time. But definitely with plenty of pleasure. Reason being, a lot of my clients are like, well, Lala, you're just like a one-off weird human being that can do all the things. And I truly believe and truly desire to really share this message around the world is that we can all truly have it all. And it is all possible. There's more than one Lala. There's plenty of amazing human beings on this planet that's all doing the things. And today it gives me so much pleasure to bring on one of my idols, somebody I have been stalking and following and being coached for I can't remember for how long. It's almost like forever. It feels like she's been around forever. But really looking back, it hasn't really been that long. So it gives me great pleasure and lots of goosebumps. Just let me pick them up and put them back on to welcome the amazing Ruby Lee. Hello, Ruby.
I loved that introduction so much. I was just like having the best giggles over here. Your energy is so infectious. I'm sure you get told that all the time, but I love it. Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here.
Thank you, Ruby. Thank you for being here and being up and early and doing an interview.
It's all good. I'm an early riser, so it's perfect.
Amazing. So, like I said, I kind of lost count of how long you've been sort of really stepping into your side hustle. And it feels like it was so long ago. You sold your property in Melbourne. You decided to become a digital nomad with hubby and kids and your extended blended family. And you come back to Melbourne just before COVID hit. And it's almost like your life has been a complete 360 compared to last year and this year. So how does it feel being a digital nomad in lockdown?
You know what? We weren't ever meant to come back we were going to touch down to Melbourne for 3 weeks because we'd just been all around the world and we thought we'll come back and we'll say hello to the family. And then we had all these retreats that were being planned for the year.
I remember that.
Yes. And so coming back and then being told we couldn't leave again, it didn't really seem real. It was kind of like, sure, we'll get over this. It'll be no time. We'll be back on a plane by June. And had all these really romantic ideas about how quickly we could return to our normal life, which was really, being able to roll the world map, pick somewhere, have our finger land somewhere and then fly there and explore that country.
Is that how you literally did it?
Pardon?
Is that how you literally did it? Like you roll the world map and it just go bing.
Yeah, we did it. Some nights we'd be like having a few glasses of wine and be like, where do we want to go? So that was really nice. I mean, being a digital nomad, there are some places you just simply cannot go because the internet is so terrible. And things like, we've had our kids travel with us. So there was always like a level of working out, is it actually somewhere we can go realistically? But coming back to your question, it's sort of been like, well, we landed at the end of March. So it was already in full blown swing, like conversations about COVID and whatnot. We came back in March and then it just feels like, oh, we're in December. So I don't really know. The last couple of months have gone. I'm sure you can all relate.
It's a bit like that.
A bit of a blur.
And I still remember, now you've reminded me, when it first hit and you came back, you're like, I remember this post. I think your retreat was in May, June-ish, and you were like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. And you had to make that really difficult decision and say, well, we're canceling it.
Yes, had to cancel. We had 3 retreats planned in Bali over the course of 1 month, and we had booked this amazing retreat space, and it was booked out, Lala. Like everyone was coming. We had people flying from Germany, from the US, from Canada, like from all over the world, New Zealand, to come to Bali and retreat with all of us. And they all had to cancel their flights, and we had to cancel the center and all of that. All of my guest mentors that were coming in to do things like yoga and sound healing, cancelled all of them. And it was so devastating, you know, because I remember on New Year's Day, I had said, oh, 2020 is going to be the year of in-person retreats, running lots of events all around the world. And that dream just came to such a halt. So that felt like a real shock. And it took me a while to actually realize that our entire business plan and our vision for this year anyway had to kind of quickly pivot. And that was also, yeah, it was definitely, I was in a bit of shock for a while, in denial more than anything else.
I think a lot of us were.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the basics. Who is Ruby Lee, and what does owning her own hustle meant to her?
Yeah. So I've gone through so many versions of me since becoming an entrepreneur. And this is one of the things that I really adore about entrepreneurship. It really is just such a privilege to explore the human and to also explore the spirit and to explore who you were prior, whether you believe in past lives or at least like guides, ancestors, people that are around who shape who you are. And with every journey and peeling back that layer, you become a deeper version of yourself, and you find your purpose and you find your destiny in this world. And that's been so fun. Also extremely traumatic at times, you know, when you find certain things and you go, wow, like I really went through a bit, or my ancestors had gone through a bit to have me come here. So with all that being said, I guess the way I would explain it to people is I'm an online business coach, helping you get to multiple 6 figures and beyond. If you're a coach who's really looking to grow and scale online, I do private mentoring, mostly masterminds these days. I have 2. And I also have a membership which is really grounded in spiritual practice and then the strategy over the top of that. So 80% of the work we do is, you know, mindset, spirituality, connection to who you are from the inside out. And from that place, we birth our soul's joy, which is our businesses and the way that we want to, you know, really receive in this world. So that is a little bit about what I do.
I love that so much. We spoke about this just before we jump on about how from an outsider's perspective, I watch you evolved and grow and just like turning into the version of you right now for the past 3 years. And it's like every time I turn, I'm like, whoa, here's the new thing that Ruby's doing now. And I love how you said about spirituality, because it wasn't always part of your brand. And when you first started, it was a lot of LinkedIn, there was a lot of strategy. It was about, you know, I remember was it a 90-day quest that you did on LinkedIn, recording your journey from, you know, having a part-time hustle to a full-time online business. So how did you, through this journey, found your woo-ness?
I found it because it was always around, but I just hid it. So for the longest time, and from when I was really young, I was always that child that saw spirits. Like I was that child. My mum was like, "Don't tell me about it." I've got a very superstitious family. You know, like I think a lot of Asian families are. And I would be like, "Oh, mommy, there's a girl there," and she's like, "What? Don't tell me about it." And then, like, I think that was sort of accelerated when I sort of was at university and I moved out on my own. I lived in this big old house in this part of Melbourne, a beautiful house. Like it was in Kew, it was gorgeous. But I would see things, hear things, feel things, and I would tell my girlfriends, I'd be like, oh, can you feel that? Like, is someone just walk by? And they're like, oh my God, stop it. So I've always I think I've always had that connection to other worlds, but it never feels like scary. It's never like, ooh, I'm like possessed or anything. It just feels like I can, ultimately feel like energy more than anything. I think the work that I do in energetics has always been a part of who I am since I was like 4 was the first time I really felt it. And but then, like you go through the societal things and you get told that you live your life in this way and don't talk about spirituality because it can come across as it's one of those topics that's just like, oh, maybe we'll just leave that, it's too contentious, or this is something that doesn't cross the lines into career, into business. So I suppressed a lot of that. It was just to put that in the box and that's not what normal people do, so don't talk about it. And I think for a good decade, I just did not really pay much attention to it. That whole thing where your attention goes, energy flows. So no attention was going to this woo-woo side. And it wasn't until I really started to start my business and I started to really get into this sense of, well, who am I? At top level, you're told like, establish your vision and your values and your mission and your purpose, like all the things that corporate tells you to do. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But that aside, what about like deeper, like who are we and why are we here doing what we do? Why are we being called to speak about certain things, etc.? And that's when I started to kind of go, oh, all right, I will peek back into that Pandora's box and open it all up. And that's when it started flooding back through around that discovery of who I truly am. And also that initial sadness that I had put her away. And I told that version of me that I wasn't good enough and that I had to be muted and that I wasn't able to really show who I am. And so that manifested in the form of just like showing up with heavy strategic work in the form of teaching LinkedIn. I still teach LinkedIn, but now with a more like spiritual lens or like mindset lens, because LinkedIn's so mindset driven. But I think more so than anything else, it's just felt like a very natural coming back to who I was always meant to be.
What was that pivotal moment when you realized, because I remember, like I said, I stalked you for a little while. I remember that moment you went, okay, LinkedIn, okay, social media. I haven't been completely honest with you. I've got the spiritual side. What was that pivotal moment that made you go, all right, now I am ready? I'm ready, even though it's actually really scary, especially LinkedIn is such a corporate platform to go, hey, I'm going to talk about my woo-woo-ness on this platform.
Well, I think for me, my closest friends and my husband, they really called me out in the most gentle way. They were like, Rubes, you have crystals all around the house and you love yourself a good, oracle card pull and things like that, where it's just the things that I really love to connect. And the way you show up in this world is like a totally different version. And you always talk about being unapologetic, and yet this is the one thing you're not you're totally apologetic about. And I remember actually my best girlfriend said that I've known her since I was 6. And she remembers me really kind of being between two worlds. And she's like, where did that go? Where's that version of Ruby? And I remember, well, my first reaction was like my back was up against the wall. And it came really fast, actually, like Jess, my best friend, and then another one of my friends, and then Michael, my husband, said it all within close succession of each other. But it was total separate occasions. And that's, it's not like a coincidence. It's a message. It's a sign. It's a synchronicity of some kind.
Yeah.
And I realized there and then, right, like I'm calling myself out on my own bullshit, that I can be all this other things and be this version of who I think the world wants to see of me. But then there's this side of me that I'm not allowed to show. And I went, there's this beautiful part of Melbourne called the Macedon Ranges. And I went for a big hike and I meditated there right near this like bubbling brook. It was so beautiful. And Mike had actually taken a photo of me just sitting there. It was freezing cold. It was like 8 degrees. And I was just in this space of like, and frost was coming out of my mouth. And I remember that photo was the photo I used to then create an article on LinkedIn saying spirituality in business. And that was the article you're referring to, about how I've been hiding this side of me. And that article went bananas. Like, so many people were saying to me, no one talks about this on LinkedIn. Oh my goodness. Like, I feel like I found my coach. I found my mentor. Thank you so much. And I was like, you know, a real full circle moment for sure.
That is so beautiful. Do you think it was also, you were also guided in a way to quit your 9 to 5 and go, yup, I'm going to go all in?
Oh my God, Lala, I was side hustling for 5 years. Do you think like the universe was like, how many times do we have to tell this one? Like, seriously. And if I cast back, I had so many conversations and so many signs and also like so many traumatic-ish experiences, and like things like, you know, as you know my story, like I nearly got fired for starting a blog. And I'm like, who gets fired for starting a blog? Like, that is so extreme. And it like beyond the in the now physical world things, like, oh yes, my employer was government based and my manager was very loyal to the company and all of this. It was definitely a gateway into this world of entrepreneurship. It was literally like kicking my butt out. Yeah, I know. And then what did I do? I still went back and got a part-time job. You know what I mean? Like, there's just moments like that where you think that version of me had serious trust issues with the universe.
I think my guides would be just going like, Lala, hello, are you listening?
Yeah, like I know they would just seriously rolling their eyes. One of my guides is my grandfather. Like, I just know it's him. I've told the story many times, but whenever he's around, I can smell him. He smells like cigars. Like, he smokes cigars every single day, and that's just his smell. He died of a heart attack. It's no surprise, right? But he was just like, oh, cigars everywhere. And I swear, anytime I was like guided to entrepreneurship, I could smell the cigar. And I'm like, what is that smell? When I got fired, nearly fired, I got so upset. And then I was just this real comforting sense of like, oh, well, he's around. Like, I know he's there. But I couldn't quite decipher what that meant around. It's okay. We've got you. You're meant to be doing this. This is made for you. It's not happening to you. And now that I look back, I think, wow, that was some pretty powerful stuff.
So I have a lot of clients that would come to me that's in the corporate job, and they were just like, and I think I kind of touched on it in the intro, they look at me and go, I can't do it. Like, simply, my job is too busy. Like, forget about even jump out of corporate, starting a side hustle. Like, it's just, are you mad? So I guess my question to you, you had your side hustle for 5 years. So you sort of lived it, you breathe it. What would you say to somebody who's kind of sitting on a fence going, I don't think I've got time to do this, but I really want to do it. But, you know, it's that in the now energy. What would you say to somebody as an advice to start a side hustle? Oh,
side hustles. Okay, honestly, if you don't have time, just don't do it. Because that's the one commodity you really need. So if you don't have time, it's just not your path for right now. However, if you're saying to me, I'm willing to sacrifice some things and to make time, that's where you start seeing some exponential changes happen with your 1% decisions. So if you decide, okay, well, instead of doing whatever you do after dinner time to wind down, what if wind down meant side hustle time? What if it meant watching a YouTube video about how to start your blog or how to start your YouTube channel? What if it meant writing down your mission and your vision? You know, that thing that you do every night, it compounds. So I know for a fact, like, whenever I sat down, which most times, quite honestly, was 10 p.m. at night, and I would side hustle until 2 a.m. They were the time I love. Would like, I always activate when the moon is high and it's up. Like, that is when I am at my best, and I really just do so much amazing work. And then I'd get up the next day and go to work and be fine. Like, but I definitely found that those days that I did that were the days that set me up down the track so that I could make the leap more easily once I decided to make the leap. But like, wow, like all these 5 years worth of a couple of hours here and a couple of hours there have made such a great difference that by the time I had left corporate, I already had a 6-figure side hustle. So it was already thriving. It was already making money, but it was almost like that was the 1% decisions I had made to get me there.
That is so good. And I mean, I often say, you know, the times when people are watching their Netflix or the times when they're having long lunches with their girlfriends are actually the times where I'm in front of a computer doing an interview, doing the things. And to me, that's actually winding down.
Totally.
I think that's the magic. You want to make sure you pick the thing that you love, not just doing it because everyone else is doing it.
100%. I was just speaking to one of my private clients about this yesterday. She's like, when do you ever switch off? And I'm like, well, I don't feel like I need to switch off because this is an embodiment of who I am. Like, there's not a lot of joy that comes from sitting in front of a TV or even reading a trashy novel or anything. It's just, this is how I love it. And my wind downs can sometimes look like I have a group on Facebook and a lot of my members go live on it. So I'll just watch their live streams and be like, wow, these people are incredible. And I would rather watch them than watch Netflix. And that it can still be regarded as work because I'm responding and it's my group and whatnot, but it never feels that way.
That is so good. So you have created a great segue to that's tap into family, because I know family is very important to you. And a lot of times mums are like, I don't know how I'm going to fit in my own hobby, my own time, me time, and family time and work time. And often a lot of mums, especially in corporate, I'm like, I'm exhausted. I don't have time for myself. How do you have now a 7-figure business, a blended family, travel around the world, and still working with your husband and still have this, I guess, balance? I hate to use the word balance because for a lot of people, balance is like 50-50, everything's equal. I know for me, balance is you'll kind of balance whatever works for you. So how do you create your own kind of balance while still juggling all the things that you've got in life?
It's so funny you say you don't think about it as 50-50. Neither do I. Because my background is actually in investments. That was like my first job that I had, and a balanced portfolio always looks like, like a pie.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole heap of different slivers that makes up a balanced portfolio, right? So that's the way I think about energy and how I want to live my life. So, okay, so let me think about this. Firstly, I could not be doing this and sitting in front of you right now, recording this without my husband. So by far, he is my rock, my secret weapon. He has carried the weight of parenting as we've grown our business, like 1000%. So right now he's got the little one with him upstairs, tucked away. They're probably, I don't know, watching iPads together. Who knows? Like, I have a 13-year-old. He'll be in bed until 11 a.m. like for sure. So it's school holidays now. So it's kind of this thing where this idea of work and family and living a life is all in one encompassing. So a very practical example as well is I might be doing a live stream on my Instagram and my little one is literally just behind the screen. Like he's just there and he could just be eating or, I don't know, drawing or something, like he's quite nearby. I do the bulk of my work when they're in school or with carers. And then at night, if I'm doing anything else, they're always around. So I don't necessarily say like it has to feel a certain way or it has to be, like laptops down and systems down to have quality time. I just know that we do through connection and through energetic, forces being around each other. There are definitely moments where it's been tear my hair out challenging, especially traveling around the world with a 2.5-year-old who, 2.5 to 3.5 is when we were really traveling with him. And there were moments where, he had like massive tantrums on a 14-hour flight. And I was like, oh, wow. And then it would knacker us out the next day. And I had 3 coaching calls to do. Mike was in jet lag mode. We were all cranky at one another. There were days like that for sure, like we're human. But ultimately we look up and we go, okay, we're in Athens. What's the problem? Really? Are you going to? And so I think looking bigger picture, the experiences that we also show the kids, right? Like that we're allowed to live this life that is not ordinary, and we're totally fine with homeschooling, taking them out, traveling, using the world as a way for them to learn. That's perfect. So we have a very unconventional way, I think, of looking at life and education and travel and business. And now both boys, I would say, are super tuned into entrepreneurship, and they're super tuned into what it means to earn. We talk to them a lot about the power of money flow, how if we wanted to have something, we could launch something and how that would look, and not being dependent on anybody else for that independence and our desires. And that's been really wonderful to see them grow into that understanding as well.
Do you think your 13-year-old's one day going to become an entrepreneur before you know?
Oh, he already is. He's a YouTuber. Like he does like all these things. Like it's amazing. And I'm very proud of him because he's just, you can see like the cogs like ticking of how does this become, it's not just me, but it's a brand. I'm going to grow a brand. And then he'll sit down and we'll talk about the brand and we'll talk about his positioning. Like it's just the best. So it's amazing. Even the young one, he's like 4, almost 5 now. And he's just like, oh, okay. So I also want to start a YouTube channel. I'm like, oh my God, like maybe a bit. Okay, let's just chill. But he'll say things like, I want to become, I want to have a laptop and I want to become, like he doesn't know how to say an entrepreneur, but I want to have my own business. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's so funny, like hearing him say that. Like, you little person. I love that.
So you talk about being unconventional as a family. It's also very unconventional to have a business with your hubby, because that meant basically you guys are like this 24/7.
Yeah.
What is it like to work with your hubby, and what would, I guess, your tips be for families that are looking perhaps to start a family business?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, I coach a lot of husband-wife teams or partner and partner teams. And both Michael and I actually sit down and we talk it through, and we coach them. And like one thing I've really come to notice and realize is we have a very sacred connection, him and I. And we have this like way of reading each other's minds and being in each other's energy. There's a lot that can be left unspoken that is actually the alchemy and the magic of why we're such a great partnership. Because it's almost like, oh, have you done that? Yeah, done that. Oh, what about this? Yep, cool, done it. Or, oh, you need some space. I'll just move upstairs without even me needing to say anything. Or he needs space. He's like right in the middle of building out a new funnel. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like he needs like a couple of hours and I don't need to say anything. It just is. So one of the things that we did from a very practical standpoint right at the beginning, and not a lot of people know this, Mike started the business first and then he reeled me in. So rather than I starting it and then retiring him, it was the other way around. So by the time we had both stepped into business together, he had drawn up role descriptions, position descriptions within the company. And this is so important. Like, it's amazing how many of our couples haven't even thought about doing that. They're just like, oh, okay, we just started working together one day. And that is where we literally can separate our boundaries around, well, this is what I fully own in the business: operations team, funnels, ads, strategy. And this is what you fully own in the business: sales, marketing, coaching, connection, audience building, all of that stuff. And that was super clear. There are some areas where we, of course, cross over. And that is great. I mean, we literally like set aside team meetings. We sit down, we talk things through, we pair, we have computers, laptops next to each other. If we're talking about something that really we're butting heads on in a really healthy way, we'll always remove ourselves from the home office or home environment, because we can now, and we'll go out to a cafe and we'll go somewhere neutral and just have fresh energy and fresh space to really talk something through. So there's a lot of things that over the years, we've worked together 2.5 years now, that we've learned, and we've maybe had a handful of real standoffs and real arguments about something in the business, but it never lasts for more than 12 hours. Like, it's always resolved during the day. So and we never go to sleep arguing about something to do with business. That's just so stupid.
That's so important.
It's just like, come on, like, that's work and this is our relationship. So we can really separate that quite well now.
Fantastic. Well, human design. Because all of my clients, when they come on board, they do a human design reading, they do an astrology reading, and then they do a strength finder reading. For me, it's a perfect combination of who we were born, who we are right in this present moment, and who we might be in the future. And I know there was this one, I think it was about this time last year, and you literally said, all right, I'm taking a deep dive into human design. And literally within, I don't know, a week, it's like you came out, you finished reading a book, finishing a course. And now that I understand human design, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But for people who don't know human design, especially from a business sense, I guess my question is really, how does it help you and how does it help your client in terms of sort of understanding how to navigate business? Because I talk about this a lot. My love at first sight did not exist with human design, and you were the person that introduced me to this thing. I'm like, what the heck is this? I know Ruby's always like at the front foot with the latest trends, but what's this thing? So I did my reading and I was like, wait, a generator is meant to respond. That doesn't sit well with me. I used to think I'm an Aries in star signs, but I'm actually triple Pisces. And I was like, that doesn't sit with me as an Aries because I just go. I don't respond. That doesn't exist in my dictionary at all. But then when I did it the second time around, I kind of sat with it and like, oh, now I understand what that meant. And it actually has helped me with my business so much more in terms of how I make decisions. But I find it difficult to put it in human terms to kind of describe it being a sacral authority, just like, well, I just feel this way. So I would love to hear from your perspective how, because I know you're now adopting it to help your clients as well. So how has that helped you with your business and your clients with their business as well?
Oh, like so much goodness that comes from, I believe, any sort of reading that speaks to you. So I will definitely say, if you are drawn to a type of reading or you're hearing us talk about it, it will speak volumes to you. And human design was one of them. There's another type. Have you gotten into gene keys?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. That's like the next evolution of human design. Well,
Ooh.
probably not the way to describe it, but it's a different way of looking at who you are. And human design and gene keys can sometimes come as a pair, but somehow gene keys doesn't really talk to me as much as HD. So you know what I mean? Like by that, there'll be something that you're really drawn to, and it's like, that's what I want to learn about. And I actually have a gate in human design. So if you ever bring up your chart, which you can do so on like My Body Graph or something like that, there's all these little numbers that are showing up like pretty much all over your torso. And I have a particular gate that is called detail. And in the detail gate, it's not like attention to detail or anything like that, because hell no, that's not me. But it's like being able to, exactly what you just described, go direct into the detail, absorb all of it, all the knowledge, all the information in a very short period of time, and then come out the other side going, okay, I got it. Cool. So that is actually like something that is within my human design. So funny you mentioned that.
So good.
But I do love it. And I find that it gives you, and most commonly what people will say about human design is they'll say it's just like a big permission slip to be exactly who you are. And one of my other clients, she just went through it, and she sent me this message afterwards saying, I'm living completely out of my design. I am so far away from how I'm supposed to be living my life, at least according to the human design, mantra, that she's like, it's no wonder I've had all these health issues. I've had insomnia. I've had broken down relationships. I don't feel fulfilled in my life. And now she's on this quest of realigning a lot of aspects. And if that's the thing that you walk away with, of realizing, the reader or the way that you've read your chart says something, and deep down that is absolutely true for you, but you've not been able to actually step out and do the things that you want to, start finding ways to realign. That is the thing that'll get you feeling the way that Lala and I do about our businesses, about life, because we are in our design. So yeah, I just think it's such a beautiful tool. And if you have never heard about it, it's becoming so popular now. It's just such a wonderful, accessible way of learning about who you are. Then I would dive in. It really is such a wonderful tool.
And it's fun as well. For me, I can't describe the fun of it, but it's like, when I did my reading, my friend Michelle Wong, who's really good at it, and she really goes into the detail. She said, you're a dry kitchen. I'm like, what the heck is the dry kitchen? So dry kitchen is essentially somebody who brings communities together, and then becomes, once the community's together, I provide the environment, and I just sit there and watch. And it was like, I just remember sitting in my reading going like, what? That's what I meant to do. And then whenever I tap into this new area of my environment, it's almost like the universe tapping you on the shoulder and going, hello, remember this? And for me, it's like a game with the universe going, okay, I'm going to try this. And I think that's a fun thing about business that I love, is that you can always try different things. And what's the worst case if it doesn't work out?
Exactly right.
So Ruby, I'm curious, now that the borders are starting to open, there's a possibility we can start traveling in 2021, and we're now looking at 11th of December. Have you started setting your goals for 2021 yet? And if so, do you mind sharing with us some of the things that you think you might be planning to do in 2021? Maybe a retreat?
Oh, so to do with traveling? Okay, so that was the only thing I cared about when it came to announcements. It was just like, oh, we still have to wear our masks. I'm like, oh, whatever. What about borders? Like, I was just like, okay, like, talk to me about the borders, and are they opening? Are they not opening? It's so funny what everybody had as their thing that they were hanging on to for announcements. I had one girlfriend, and the only thing she cared about was when gyms were going to open. I had another one that was like all about childcare. I'm like, okay, all right, they're nice to have, and then they were like travel, whatever. But yeah, like as soon as the borders were announced open for some states, like my mum was here, and I jumped up and down like a crazy woman. I was so excited. And she was so sad because she's like, I'm going to lose you again. Yeah, she's just, that is the joy of having a Sagittarius daughter. I'm like, out, bye-bye. I could never, ever just keep you here. Like, you're so uncaged. So, yeah, I think for us, there's always plans for travel for sure. And we're actually going to be leaving Melbourne. So we bought a car last week. We are going to travel all around Australia, take the kids, do all of that. So we're doing like a big Australian road trip and really just exploring our nation, our country, up until we're obviously able to travel overseas again, whenever that is. But I think with all of that being said, like, yes, there will be retreats, there'll be meetups, there'll be, some really gorgeous experiences that I want to bring forward to my community that isn't necessarily what you would see in the online business world. So I've got so many ideas and such a huge vision. I don't even think it's held within 2021. It's just, it feels like it's within the next 3 years. So there's a lot on my plate, but that's just the way that I love it. So we just have so much stuff that we have to kind of draw from and have that variety in life. And it's just so exciting.
I'm so excited for you. Well, if you come to Sydney, or if I happen to be in Sydney, because we'll definitely, I was the same. I was like, okay, borders are open. Where can I go now? So I'm actually going to, Uluru in February, and I just can't wait when I can go to New Zealand and visit my family as well. So,
oh wow, that is so gorgeous. Yeah, New Zealand is just. To me, it feels like it's like you go into a bit of a aura bubble, and it's so quiet. It just is peaceful for me there. It's just quiet, and I don't really know what's going on in the rest of the world, and I really love that. I have this gift of reading astrocartography, so I'm really good at reading. It's an amalgamation of astrology, the way that your energy was cast on this world at the time that you were born, but being able to read for career, money, fame, and recognition, and where those energies lie on the world map for you. And it's just so fun seeing that. And New Zealand for me is literally like no energy, zero. And that's why I go there and I feel like I've gone into a bit of a jelly. It's like, whoa, everything just goes quiet there.
Wow, that's a very different way of putting New Zealand, but it's definitely quiet. And for me, I could just be there in the home that I grew up, and it feels like the world just falls apart. And I think it's kind of the way that you describe as a jelly. It's like I feel safe, I feel protected, and it's like I'm going through a spiritual cleanse, and everything just goes into the wash, come out, and I can come back to Australia going, okay, now I'm ready.
Yes. You know what? I've never been to New Zealand when it's not winter. Because we used to go there, me and my group of friends used to go there skiing every year. Like that was our big trip together. Like we'd go to the Remarkables and spend time in town and just, have the snow around. It was always cold. So I've never experienced like New Zealand in the summer. Like it's so funny. Maybe I should.
You have to go around March-ish because that's when the weather is just perfect.
Cool. Oh my goodness. All this travel talk is making me want to pack up my suitcase and go.
Sorry. So how can people find you, Ruby? I know you're so easy to find, Ruby Lee everywhere. So tell us about how can people find you and some of the amazing offers you currently have.
Yeah, so come and find me. The place that I mostly hang out now is actually on Instagram. So if you find me, it's _RubyLee_. And I also have a podcast called Own Your Hustle, which is really the whole journey. You can start from the start. A lot of people do, and they listen to the whole journey of how I went from side hustle to $1 million entrepreneur. So if you want to actually hear the ups and the downs, that's where it is. In terms of my offers, you can check out rubylee.co, which is my website. Mastermind is, and one of my masterminds are enrolling right now. And so, or the membership is going to be a really great place for you to start. If you love my vibe, if you're starting a business, all of that good stuff, or wanting to scale to multiple 6, then come and have a chat to me.
No worries. Well, Ruby, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and having this chat. And I can't wait when you come to Sydney, because I've never met you in person. It'll be really nice to actually meet you.
I know I don't have any plans for Sydney at the moment, but I think the closest we're going to get is Kiama, like Wollongong, Kiama area.
Oh,
it's kind of around.
So beautiful there.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll definitely meet you there then. Let me know. I'm coming over.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.